Right, so I've stuck the swinging arm and the linkage back into the frame, as well as the engine, and that's all mounted back in. I've taken all the casings off because these are going to go get sprayed Cerakoted next week along with the wheels. So I wanted to get the engine back in to take all these off. So yeah, they're all ready to go. Go drop them off on Monday to get Cerakoted. Thinking like a nice dark grey colour, not far off that colour that it was painted, but I'm going to get all of them matched up the same. I think that's it for Cerakoting. I think the master cylinder on the brake and stuff, on the brakes, I think I'll just leave. I've given them a clean up, as you can see, just back to raw. So I think I'll just leave them as is. I don't think I'll bother painting them. So yeah, now that that's all back in, I can start putting things back on the bike now. So I'm going to put the radiators back on, and what else? Maybe try and line that cone pipe that I've bought, try and get that fitted. But then again, I don't know if I can do that with the casings being off, especially the power valve. No, I'll probably have to wait for that. So yeah, start putting little bits back on the bike, and then tomorrow I'm going to make a start on this tank, because I feel like that's going to take me a long time to get it back to nice. So yeah, start putting bits back on today, and then tackle this tomorrow and try and get a good chunk of it done. My plan is to just like, I've seen a video of this guy doing it online. He did the same with a 500 tank, and it came back to really clean, and that was worse than this one. It had been painted everywhere. So plan is to just multiple stages of sanding, wet and dry, and just progress, and then get it over there on the buffing wheel and just polish it up. It's going to have graphics, all the perforated graphics all across the tank, so it's not as big of a deal, but I don't want any horrible old faded yellow colour showing through. So yeah, try and get the whole thing cleaned right up, and then I can put that back on the bike once the plastics go on. So yeah, start tackling everything, start putting things back on, strip them wheels down to go with the casings, and go get them painted next week. I bought some new foot pegs for the bike, just some aftermarket ones. They weren't that much money, to be honest, because the originals are just so skinny and frail and they're just crap. So I bought some wide foot pegs, but I did notice I bought a whole set of pins and springs, like a replacement kit for them, and I noticed the pins on the aftermarket ones are just too big for the mounting on the frame. So I've got a drill bit, and I'm just going to try and drill this hole a little bit bigger, just so I can fit them new pins in. I could just use the old pins, but to be honest, right, so that's both sides bored out, so they'll fit the new pins. So yeah, I'll start trying to mount them foot pegs on now. I did notice that the springs that it came with aren't the same, and there isn't the hook like on the originals. So I'll have to play around with that and see how that fits. But yeah, we'll try and stick these on. Yeah, see if it'll fit. So shove the pin through. So as you can see, there's a little hole here, which is where the spring enters in to the frame, and the other ones had like a little hole or a hook here, which obviously would pull hold the foot peg to the frame. But this one doesn't have anything like that, and I've read online that these, you sort of manipulate it so it'll just sit against the edge of this, I think, just to hold it back. So we'll see if we can do that. Right, so the new foot pegs are in, the pins have gone through nicely now that I've drilled that hole out. The only problem is the springs down here, there's an attachment in the frame, like a little pinhole, where the old springs would go in there, and then the back side of the spring would hook onto the side of the old foot peg, because there was a little pilot hole for it to sit in, whereas these don't have that. And I've read online that you're meant to just manipulate this, well, I'm guessing this bit of spring up against the foot peg. Now there is a little groove here in the corner of this foot peg, which I can only guess is designed for that, which theoretically when you pull that up, the pressure of the spring should pull it back down. So that's probably how that's going to work. So I'll put the clip back in and then try and bend that spring up so it holds it back in place. Put that in first so it's sat in place. Yeah, so that's working now. Look, it's really stiff, but it is working. So that's how that's meant to be. So I'll get that clip to hold it all in, and then we'll move on to the other side. Right, next thing we've got to mount up is these new radiators. The old ones are just horrible, battered old black ones. So yeah, got all of these on eBay. I'm sure they're a bit cheap. A lot of people probably wouldn't use these. I've got them from Poland or somewhere, but they look alright, and I'm not riding this bike that much, to be honest. I'm only going to really race it at Hawkstone and maybe do the odd practice on it. Other than that, it's going to be a bit of a collector's bike, just sat in the garage all the time, so I'm not that fussed. It might go wrong, but yeah, we'll get these chucked on and then start connecting the hoses back up and just start piecing it all back together a bit. Right, so I'm going to make a start on this tank. Again, watched a couple of videos online of people doing it and they got them back to fairly good standard. So this one, like I say, I only paid £5 for it at Telford, so it was a bit of a bargain. I've checked to make sure it's not leaking, which, you know, touch wood, it shouldn't be, because I've filled it up and shook it around and it doesn't seem to be leaking. But yeah, I watched a guy do it and he basically just hours probably of sanding, get it all back to, you know, quite clean, and then get it on the polishing wheel and buff it up a little bit and try and bring that shine back to it. Like I say, I'm going to have the perforated graphics along this bit here, which is most of what will be seen, but I just don't want any, you know, like faded old yellow showing around the edges. It'll just really annoy me. So I'm going to try and get this shined up a little bit back to a nice kind of colour that'll be not far off the new plastic. So yeah, I've got my little detailing sander to get in all these little horrible bits, but yeah, going to take a lot of sanding, I think, but we'll make a start anyway. I've made a little bit of a start just to get a lot of the I mean, look at the inside of that. I don't know if I'll even bother going into that detail in there, because that will never be seen, but all these bits around the edges, yeah, I want all these tidied up and cleaned up. So yeah, I'll make a start sanding that and see how we're going. Right, so I've done a good hour sanding down with the detailing sander. Got rid of a lot of the horribleness that was on it, to be honest. My main focus was around the edges and these bits here, because they're what will be not covered by sticker, and they might just show around the edge of the graphic when it's sat on the bike. But yeah, quite happy with how it's sanded up already. So my plan is now to get some wet sanding it a little bit in a couple of different stages, and just try and get it all gone, all this horribleness, the little marks and paint splodges that are left on it, and then give it a polish up on the buffing wheel and just try and get it back to a little bit of a shine. Like I say, I'm not going to go into crazy detail because it's going to be covered with graphics, but just to get it a little bit shiny and get that colour back would be ideal, just so there's no, you know, faded colour showing when it's on the bike. But yeah, I noticed the fuel tap on the Enduro one's different, so it's a different fitting. I could have probably still used it because this one's, it probably would have fit in the shape of that one there, but I found one online for like 10 quid, so I'm just going to buy a new one. But yeah, quite happy with how it's sanded up. Yeah, give it a little polish, try and get it back to some sort of colour, and then it's ready to go on the bike and put some stickers on. Right, so I've cleaned that all up. I'm just going to give it a little go with some polishing compound. I've seen that you don't need loads of this on there, from what I've seen anyway. So we'll put that on that first pad and just have a little go at it. I'm going to set it a bit low in terms of speed and just let it, just see what it does, to be honest. I don't know if this will work or not, so we'll have a go anyway and see what happens. Right, well that went horrendously wrong. Instantly just sprayed off all over me. I don't know what I was thinking there, what would happen. So I'll put some onto the actual tank first and then go, because yeah, that's just going to happen every time, isn't it? That was just pretty fucking naive from me, that. Right, so that's done absolutely nothing what I thought it would. I watched a video on the guy doing it online, and he used the exact same methods I did. He used an orbital sander with a pad, then like a wool sort of pad to get it shiny. There is a little patch that's shining a little bit more there, but I've been at that for quite a while and it's not doing anything, it's just staying in the tank. So I don't know whether I've bought the wrong stuff. I just bought some plastic polishing compound, so I thought it would do the job, but I'll have to reassess what I've bought there. And yeah, maybe I have to order something else, because that's not doing anything. It's not doing anything what I thought it would. So yeah, we'll have to go away and see if I've bought the right stuff. If not, then I'll have to order some more. But yeah, attempt number 1 at polishing it up has failed miserably. Like I said, I've got it sanded down quite nicely. There's little blotches of marks showing up now from my grubby end. But yeah, I've sanded it quite finely. I'm quite happy with how smooth it is. It just, because like I say, it was 5 quid. Like little marks like that, I'm not going to go into too much detail when I'm putting graphics on them anyway. I just wanted it to get that shine that the other tank had on. Just get a little bit of that back into it, because all the plastics are obviously going to be bright yellow shiny. So that sat against them will look horrible. So yeah, I'll go and have a little look at what the guy in the video was using and make sure that it's the same stuff. It might be that I just have to sit there for an hour doing it and just get it going, but yeah, so far it's done absolutely nothing for what I thought it was going to do, so yeah, we'll have to try again on that. Right, so since we failed on the tank, polishing that up, I'm just going to quickly strip this old horrible seat cover off here and leave it ready for that nice new one, as you can see there, that I got from VMX. It's actually a grippy seat cover, which is, I just saw it and thought it looked a bit cooler, so I went for that one instead of the regular blue one. So yeah, I'm going to rip this seat cover off now and leave it ready to staple and put a new seat cover on the weekend. So yeah, I'll quickly pull all these horrible old staples out and leave myself with just a bare seat to go out on Saturday. Right, so probably as predicted, the old seat cover was just brittle, old leather, just fell to pieces as soon as I started plucking that out. The foam itself actually not too bad, there's no major chunks missing or anything, it's all quite still in good order. So I'll probably give that a little clean whilst it's off, just clean it up a little bit, and then before I go and put that new seat cover on, I'm probably gonna just go and pull a few of these old horrible staples out that are just left there because they just wouldn't come out with the thing, with the cover. So yeah, I'll try and pluck a good portion of them out so I'm not just constantly hitting the same parts when I put the new cover on. So yeah, I think I'll just spend a little bit of time pulling them out and then clean it all up and get the new cover shoved on this weekend. Right, so I've just spent a little bit of time plucking out all the old horrible staples out of the seat base. So now I'm ready to go at sticking this new cover on. So got my staple gun ready, heat gun ready just in case, and yeah, we'll just make a start at it. I think I'll go front to back and then stretch out the sides, so I'll just see how it goes. So that's the seat cover all stapled down. There's a little bit of a crease still there, so I might just pull some out and go a bit tighter. Try and get rid of that last little bit. This, like I say, it had the RMX tank on, which was way steeper. So the bend of this seat is actually naturally a bit steeper, which might be why I've got a little bit of bagginess there. Because of the dip there, so yeah, I think I'll just take some staples out and just try and get that just that tiny bit tighter so I don't have that little bit of bagginess there. Everything else gone perfectly on. Really, really nice looking seat. I got this off VMX along with the graphics for the rad shrouds. They had an option of like a plain blue one or this extra grippy one, which I just thought looked just quite a lot nicer, so it's a little bit extra money, but I'm glad I did it now. So yeah, I'll try and get that a little bit tighter and then just go on the underside and just tidy a bit of that up because there's a lot of excess leather that comes with it. So I'll just tighten that up and then just go around, neaten it up a bit with a scalpel, and that's the seat cover all done. So I thought I'd quickly just do a rundown of what we've done on the weekend. Made a little bit of progress on the bike. Obviously, ripping everything off is quite good, but once you've got it all in a pile, it's sort of daunting to look at it all sat there. So putting stuff back in was actually quite nice this weekend. So I put the entire engine block back in and mounted that back up. Obviously all I've done is just clean the engine block up. I've not done any sort of work because I'm taking the guy of his word. We put the new flywheel in, but touch wood, we don't have to do anything engine wise, but obviously until I've ridden it I wouldn't know. So we've got some new radiators, mounted them up, which for the price I think I paid 90 quid for them. I'm quite happy with how they look. Whether they perform, I don't know. They might fall to pieces after a few rides, I don't know, but they look alright. So we've done that. We've got some new hoses, which I've put majority of them on, but I can't connect this final one up because I've taken the water pump cover off, which is the last connecting point. So done that. I've got some new foot pegs, which really happy with them for the price. I think they were £45. Again, just some cheap aftermarket ones, but compared to the originals, like, they're so skinny and horrible that actually I'll find them. See, the originals are so skinny and horrible that, you know, anything's going to be better than what was on them. So did that, got some new pins, put them in, new springs and pins, mounted up some new handlebars, gonna shove these grips on. I've got a new throttle tube that's been put on. But yeah, just cleaned a lot of things up, to be honest. I haven't really gone overboard delving into like rebuilding stuff. I did get my dad around who helped. I got a carb kit to rebuild the carb because it was leaking out of the flow, we think. So he rebuilt that for me. So I put that back on. But yeah, just starting to put bits back onto the bike now. I've taken all the casings off because I'm getting them coated currently. I've been and dropped them off. I'm going to get them coated the same time I get my rims coated and my hubs. So yeah, we took the wheels apart as well, stripped them right down and got them back to bare to get them sprayed. And then I made a little bit of a start on the tank, just going at it with the orbital sander and the detailing sander just to try and clean it up a bit. I've got it down to like a smooth sort of base now, but I just want to finish it off a little bit, and then I'm going to go back in and try and polish it back to shiny and try and get some colour back in it. So yeah. Right, so I've redone all the sanding down of this. I tried it with the compound that I bought online, but it just didn't seem to be right. So I sacked it off and redid the sanding just lightly. I just went through all the stages again, but I didn't go too heavy on it because I'd already done most of the sanding work, so it was mainly just getting that coat of compound back off. But yeah, sanded all that down. Weirdly, I did try the toothpaste method, which someone suggested, which it did actually bring a little bit of the colour back, but it's not brought that polished shine finish. So I've been online, found the correct compound, I'm hoping this time, which is like, yeah, these 3 different options. I think the white one's for plastic, so I'm going to give that a little go on the wheel, on the drill, and just see if anything happens with that. But I won't be sanding it down again. I'll be leaving it as is now. So hopefully that'll come to a bit of a shine now if I have a go with that. Right, so quickly, I used the new compound that I got on the buffing wheel that I've put onto the bench grinder, and I just went at it for a little bit in just some small patches, and you can see it is starting to shine. It's just, I think it's going to take a lot of time. Like places like this I've spent quite a bit of time on, because this whole area here is the one bit that won't have graphic on it. Obviously all along the sides will be covered with the graphic, but this bit of the tank here will be on show, and that's what I want to shine up mostly. Obviously I want to go and do the whole thing and have it all just as it should be, but yeah, I'm going to mainly focus on getting this up. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of time on there, I think, and I also think I need a better wheel, because that one's already like splitting off. But yeah, probably quite a lot of time spent on that, and that should start to shine up, because in the areas that I spent a lot of time, it is starting to shine up a bit. Right, so I've been polishing for a good 2 hours, well, an hour and a half nearly, on and off there. And I heard from what I've seen on video that the polishing stage is meant to be like easy, which I don't know whether I've been sanding it wrong or I've not been using the right compound or what, but that took forever. I tried several different wheels on it, and yeah, it just took ages. Eventually, I just found using this plain yellow one was the best option, and it has. I don't know if you can really tell because of the LED light I've got above here, but it has given it a real nice shine again. Like, there is obviously a lot of marks still, because I bought the tank for £5 because I didn't want that RMX one on there. But obviously, like I said, I've got graphics to go on the main part of the tank here with the holes in. It was just this top bit is what's going to be on show, and it was such a dull sanded down colour. I just wanted to get a bit of shine back in it, so I've polished basically the life out of that, and you can still see like marks, especially down here, but I've spent a lot more time doing this top bit to try and just get a bit of that colour back into it. Obviously, I'm not trying to make it brand new, and I'm not willing to spend, well, I don't have hours and hours to waste doing that, so yeah, I think I'll leave that for now. And I'll put the graphics onto what I've done, and then once all the plastic's back on, if for whatever reason I'm not happy with like the odd little mark here, I could probably do it with the drill, with that wheel, and just finish it up. But yeah, you can kind of tell if you look at what it was like and you look at that now, the colours come back quite a lot, and I'm quite happy with that actually. It's not a million miles off the plastic colour in person anyway, so yeah, quite happy with that. A lot of effort and time gone into that, a lot more than what I was planning on doing. Yeah, I must have done something wrong at some point, because yeah, it's just not polished up as easy as it should. I mean, that's perfectly nice and smooth now, but that's after like half an hour just spent in this whole area. So anyway, yeah, you can see it's a lot better than it was, and for a £5 tank, I'm pretty happy with how that's come out. So yeah, we'll probably stick that on the bike now and then put the graphics on it. Right, so the fuel tank I'm happy enough with now. It's not perfect, but I managed to get a lot of the shine back into the tank, and the colours come back quite a lot. And like I say, down the sides, well, majority of the tank will be covered with a graphic. So for me, I'm happy enough with that. For £5, I'm quite happy. I've bought a new tap for the fuel tank, because the one that came on the RMX is a bit of a different shape, and I'm also struggling to get one of the bolts out, so I thought best to just leave that in situ and keep it as a spare tank just in case this one plays up, because like I say, I paid £5 for it at Telford, so it could fall to pieces. So yeah, I bought a new fuel tap for it, got a new rubber O-ring for it, so I'll just fit that back on now, and then I can shove that back onto the bike. yeah, I just chuck a little bit of Loctite onto them bolts before I put the tap on, just because it's quite an important bit. Just a tiny bit. Right, so that's that all bolted on. I'll chuck a little bit of fuel in it now. Just give it a little shake test to make sure that's not leaking. Fuel off. Yeah, like I say, I've not put one of them on before, so I'm hoping that little rubber grommet is the only thing that's needed. You can't really tell from the inside of that one. This one's got some, it's because it's the RMX one, it's got like a reserve part as well, so it's got a much longer pipe that goes through. So yeah, chuck a bit of fuel in it, see if it leaks, hopefully not, and then hopefully I can chuck that back on the bike and I can start putting all the plastic back on. See, that ladder's designed to stop you from getting out, but you could probably squeeze through there, so it's probably pointless.